Hi, my name is Ken Sakel, and welcome to the Flash Briefing tutorial. What is a flash briefing? Well, it's a very simple Alexa skill that plays a brief 1 to 2 minute update for your followers. The content can be anything: news, tip of the day, an inspirational quote. The content is up to you. The flash briefing content can be in the format of a voice recording or text that is read by Alexa. However, we highly recommend recording your content into audio format because it'll increase your brand recognition and awareness. We like to refer to a flash briefing as a mini podcast because we follow the same steps to create and manage your audio as a podcaster would. So, let's get started with creating your audio. To create your audio content for your flash briefing, you don't need a lot of sophisticated equipment. You can simply open up the voice recorder on your laptop and click record to record your content like this. Hi, welcome to the Alexa Skill Daily Update. Today we're talking about flash briefings. And our update for today is content. Keep your content short for your flash briefings. Flash briefings are typically queued up by listeners and listened to first thing in the morning or on their way home from work. So they don't have a lot of time to listen to any one individual flash briefing. It's what we like to call a mini podcast. So keep it short, usually 1 to 2 minutes. And keep your listener in mind, and they'll keep coming back. If you do that, you'll have a successful flash briefing. Thanks, and stay tuned for tomorrow's Alexa update. When you're done, all you need to do is rename your recording to something that makes sense. So, for example, this will be Alexa Skill Flash Briefing Update 1 Content. We also recommend that your flash briefing be updated daily. So for workflow purposes, it's probably best to sit down and create a week's worth of content. Remember when you're doing your content to write it down first, practice it, and then record it. And when you've got all of your content done and recorded, 5 episodes or more, then move on to the next step, which is uploading your content to your hosting service. So take some time, go ahead and do that, make your recordings, and then we'll move on to the next step, uploading your content to your provider. Once you've created all of your content for your flash briefing, you'll want to upload it to a hosting service. If you've created a podcast before, you'll probably be very familiar with this process. However, what we've seen is there are a lot of people who have created flash briefings that aren't familiar with the world of podcasts. So let me give you a little bit of information about how podcasts work. Well, we created our flash briefing or our mini podcast, and we created an audio recording. Now, if you have a podcast on a service such as iTunes or a different service such as TuneIn, you don't actually send them your recording or your file. You actually point to a place where that file is hosted. And with the Alexa flash briefing, we do exactly the same thing. So we need a place to host our flash briefing or the content that we created. If you go out to Google, you'll see that there are a lot of different podcast hosting services available. What we did is we used Buzzsprout. It just happened to come up first on our search criteria, and it meets the needs that we were looking for. We are in no means recommending this over any others. We haven't looked at anything else, and we're not getting any money from them. So this was just a tool that we found that we used, and it fit our needs. The reason why is it gives you an RSS feed, and it gives you it on a secure site, so an HTTPS site. We did a little bit of research, and some people host their podcasts on SoundCloud, and SoundCloud does not provide a secure link or a HTTPS connection. So that is one place that we know is not going to be compatible. So if you go and create a free Buzzsprout account, it'll allow you to create a new podcast. We created our podcast called Alexa Skill Update. And remember, this is just our flash briefing. It's a mini podcast. The reason why this service works for us is we have 2 hours of episode time remaining. And when you're doing a flash briefing, 2 hours per month gives you plenty of time. If you were actually doing a podcast, this might not be enough time for you, so you'd research what other services are available and the costs associated with it. If we go over here and upload a new episode, we choose the file or the recording that we created, and here you see I have a week's worth of recordings, so I'll just start uploading them and filling them in. So we uploaded it, and here we have to give it a title, a description, a summary, and most importantly, the published date. This is when it will be made available or be live or on the top of your RSS feed. So upload your content, uploads a week's worth, make sure you have a published date for each and every single one of them, and then you will be ready to give the information over to the Alexa skill. The information that you need is the RSS feed. Now, if we go to iTunes and directories, here we'll see that we actually do have an option for Alexa, but this is not what we need. This site was made specifically for podcast users, not flash briefing users. And if you were creating a podcast and wanted to make your podcast available via any pod, which has a skill on Alexa, or via TuneIn, which has a skill on Alexa, you could do it that way. However, we're not using those, we're not creating a podcast and we're not using those services. We are actually creating a flash briefing. And to do that, you need the RSS feed, and we can just click on copy. And once this is done, we can go on to the final step, which is actually creating our flash briefing skill. To create a flash briefing, you need to log on to the Amazon Developer Council. You don't really need to be a developer to create this skill. It's really very simple. We're not going to cover creating an ID in this tutorial. We'll just assume that you can walk through the steps. There is no cost to it. So feel free to go ahead and do that on your own if you need to. Once you're logged on, you're going to go to the Alexa Skills Kit and create a skill. You're going to give it the name, and we'll call it Alexa Skill Tip. And select Flash Briefing and create the skill. Before the skill is actually created and available, you have to set it up or configure it. So the first thing we need to do is add a custom error message, which will say Alexa Skill Tip unavailable. Once that's done, we can add our feed. We'll give it a preamble or an introduction, which says from Dabble Labs. Our name will be Helpful Alexa Hints. We'll update this, as we said, daily. This is an audio feed. Our genre will be technology. And our feed is the RSS feed that we got from our hosting service. So if you remember our flash briefing, we go to iTunes and directories, and we go to RSS feed, we copy that value and paste it in our feed. And the one thing we need to do is add on the question mark limit 1, so that way we get a copy of the most current flash briefing rather than the 4 or 5 that may be in the backlog. Finally, you do need an icon, so if you don't have one available, you'll need to do that separately, a 512 by 512 PNG file. It will give you an error if it doesn't adhere to some of these requirements. So make sure you have that available. Once you're done, you can add in your feed, save it, and you're done. Then all we need to do is test our skill. Now, finally, we'll get to test our Amazon Alexa skill, our flash briefing. You can go to the Alexa app on your phone or on the website at alexa.amazon.com. This is where all settings for your specific Alexa account are. We will click on Skills and then click on Your Skills. And here we will see our Alexa skills tip. We'll go ahead and enable it. And once the skill is enabled, we'll be able to turn on our Alexa device and hear our flash briefing. Turning Alexa back on. Alexa, what's my flash briefing?
Here's your flash briefing from Dabble Labs.
Hi, welcome to the Alexa Skill Daily Update. Today we're talking about flash briefings, and our update for today is content. Keep your content short for your flash briefings. Alexa, stop. So there you have it, all the steps from beginning to end to completely create a flash briefing and publish it and make it live. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below, and thank you for your time.